Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and what I want to do today is I want to show you a few tips and tricks when it comes to camp cooking with some of the Pathfinder cookware. And there's a very special thing I want to show you about our bush pot that I don't think I've ever covered on video. I've talked about it in classes when we did cooking and things like that, and it spurred memory on me when I taught it at the Bushcraft 101. We were using a bush pot to cook with that makes our bush pot different than others on the market. And it's a design feature that I want to show you. But the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, especially with this design feature built in, a 3-quart bush pot is one of the most versatile pieces of cookware you can possibly carry if you can afford the size and weight. And so something like conveyance, where you have a canoe or a kayak or an overland vehicle, a Jeep, or car camping, something like that, you can afford the weight and size of a 3-quart bush pot. And it will do virtually anything you want to do to cook food in. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But first, we're going to tie up a hasty tripod. And so to do that, we're just going to take a 6-foot utility cord like we would have in our pocket. And we're just going to take that bow line and wrap it around the poles and give ourselves a little bit of space between the poles like this. And we're just going to wrap it around there 3 times. And then we'll just take this other end and drop it over just like that. And we'll simply rotate the pole inside just like this between the other two, and that will tighten up that temporary lashing and give you a tripod that you can use to cook with that's very easy to get undone when you're finished with it without proper lashings, okay? All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to put a toggle that's about 10 inches long on the end of our tripod rope here that we've got hanging down. And we've got a stop knot, a double overhand stop knot here. So all we're gonna do is take a bite in this line and turn it on itself to create a set of ears. And we fold those ears over and put the stick through it and pull it down, and we cinch that stop knot against it. It's a locking lark's head at that point. So it's just a lark's head knot with a stop knot. And we're gonna put that about right in the middle. And this stick is gonna do a lot of things for us along the way. And we can adjust it easy enough by just taking rope up around the tripod or opening and closing the tripod to lift it up and down. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to cook some brats to add to our meal. And we're gonna use a really special trick with the bush pot to do this that I wanna show you that kind of sets it apart but makes it an awesome piece of cookware and very versatile, because we're going to braise these sausages in our bush pot over the fire as if we didn't have a skillet with us. All right, if we wanna use this bush pot for braising, we're gonna use it kind of like we do as a reflector oven style device, where we put it next to the fire and we let the heat go inside and roll around inside with a rack, and that cooks our food. We're gonna use this as a braiser to cook meat on a rack, but we're gonna suspend it over the fire on our tripod. So that's why the long toggle, all right? So here's what we need to do. We need to take the toggle and put it inside, just like this, all right? And then we need to lift up the handles so they touch like this, okay? Now here's the secret sauce to this whole mechanism that people don't know, because I've never really shown it outside of class. If you look at this bush pot, there are detents right here in the handle. What those are for is to lock this bail right there so that these handles can't move. And now whatever you've got in here is locked, and it's going to hang perfectly level underneath something just like this so that you can use it for a braiser, okay? And all you need to do is just move that string a little bit. If you hang this thing on a galley pole, it'll hang perfectly level no matter what you do, because you'll be going straight through the object. This, you might have to adjust your tripod to get it to hang where you want it. Like that's pretty level right there, okay? But now I've got something I can suspend over the fire. I can put a rack inside, just like this. And we're gonna cook some brats like that right now. All right, so we're just gonna take a couple brats here. Again, butterflied open. Lay them right on the cook rack just like this. Slide them inside. We can now pick this whole bush pot up with the tripod and move it over the fire. And we can get this as close or as far away from the fire as we want it. That's a little bit closer than I want it, so I'm gonna take about half half a turn here. Get this thing toward me where I can see it. Okay, we're good. It doesn't hurt anything if it turns over the fire. Now we're just going to keep some heat to this and let them cook. There's a close-up of how that detent locks into that bale to lock those handles, okay? You can see the sticks just slid through, the rope's pinched in between. And now we got this going on. All right, we're basically braising those brats over the fire in that bush pot. And we can easily adjust this by just lifting the tripod up, moving the legs in, or lifting up rope if we're cooking too fast or too slow. Now I'm gonna show you another beauty of this system, okay? You got this pot suspended over fire cooking food, right? I can grab this thing from the top and it's not even hot. Grab this rack, kind of move it forward, pull it out, adjust any food I need to adjust, flip things over. Slide my rack back in, lay it right back up over the fire, and everything is pretty much self-leveling there, okay? The other beauty of this system is I just fed some sticks in here just now, but really, like I said, you know, I can touch this. It's not hot. It doesn't take a very big fire to cook like this, which is one big advantage of it. It would take more fire to boil water to make coffee than it takes to braise meat inside this bush pot. Okay, again, you know, I can touch this. So I can pull this rack out of here, take a look at my sausage up close, see if I think it's done. It looks to me like it is. So we're gonna move on to the next step in the process, change the position of our bush pot, lay this rack aside and put this meat in a plate for the time being, and we'll come back to it. All right, so we're just gonna pick this tripod up and move this pot off the fire and let it cool down for a minute, so we can change the position of it and make it hanging so we can cook some things that are with the pot in its normal configuration. And we'll add a few sticks to the fire for that too. One of the things I want to talk to you about real quick while we're waiting on this stuff to cool down and fire to get built back up. These 20-liter dry bags, you can put a 3-quart bush pot inside there, nest it into an 8-inch skillet, even if that skillet's in the bag like this one is. You can still nest it inside there and sit it down inside as long as the lid's underneath. And you can use the 8-inch stainless steel skillet the same way. This one happens to be the carbon steel. But they will nest right into the bottom of this 20-liter dry bag. And then you can put your camp kitchen inside here. Plate, bowl, cup, all that kind of stuff. Silverware could go inside here with the lid on top. And you're gonna have plenty of room still left inside this dry bag at that point, nested in to stuff probably a complete hammock system if that's what you want to do. And if you didn't have the 8-inch skillet in there, you'd have a little bit more room. But these dry bags come in handy for lots and lots of stuff. And especially if you're on the water's edge, if you're canoeing, kayaking, boating, things like that, putting things in these dry bags and they do stay dry. So you can put food and shelter materials and things like that in this bag so that when you pull your canoe or your kayak over for the night, you get ready to hang your hammock, set up your tent, whatever you need dries inside these dry bags. And like I said, it's big enough to hold a 3-quart bush pot and an 8-inch skillet. And this 8-inch skillet's got a plate and a lid in it as well. So it's a very easy nesting set you can put together very easily for travel. All right, so again, all we have to do is pop this off the detents, unfold the handles, the toggle falls right out. Now, that same long toggle works great inside the bale of the bush pot. Now we're gonna cook some rice and beans to add to our brats, which makes a great meal, but we're gonna use the baked beans, with rice. I think you'll really like that. It's wild rice and baked beans. So let's get some water in this thing. Let's get about a quart of water in here, something like that. We're only making enough food for one person here. Don't need to get crazy. So we'll put about a quart of water in there out of our canteen, and we'll get that up here over the fire. And all we have to do is move this tripod to get it over the fire. And now we're going to want some heat to this thing, so close to the fire is better, okay? We can adjust our rope up and then our tripod out to get things close to the fire. That's what I like about tripod cooking. It's really manageable and adjustable very, very easily. And now we'll get some rice on the boil. All right, this is just long grain brown rice. We're going to get ourselves a couple good heaping military spoons of it here. Put them in there. Actually, I think we'll do 3. And maybe 4. 3.5, whatever. What I really like about this brown rice is that it comes in these pretty good heavy duty plastic bags, and you can just spin them bad boys down, tie them off with a piece of bank line, store them inside your bush pot, and you've always got rice. Now with rice, you're gonna wanna stir this so it doesn't stick to the bottom, and you're gonna wanna get this water good and hot. So don't be afraid to boil it. And one thing to talk about real quick here while we're cooking this, it's about to come to a boil here. And that just reminds me that from a simple standpoint of physics, the larger that pot's diameter is, the more surface area is engaging with the fire, the faster it will boil. So a 3-quart bush pot would boil a quart of water faster than a 2-quart bush pot because it has more surface area, which is one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of like a 2-inch deep skillet. Because if you're making casseroles, things like that in a skillet, and that thing's 2 inches deep, you got plenty of room in there to put, a quart of liquid in there and boil it. And I like that. This long toggle makes it real easy. Just reach over and grab it, pull it over to you and stir it, and just let it go back over the fire without having to reach right over top of things that may be hot. You have this kind of extension handle by using that long toggle that we used with the bush pot for braising. And we're going to boil this and stir. I'm going to say 10-15 minutes, but we're letting our fire die down in the process, so it's a simmering type fire when we add our third ingredient to this. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to just keep stirring this rice and let the water evaporate. We want about half the amount of water or less that we started with. I'm starting to see the rice a lot better, which means it's getting bigger, swelling up, and the water's getting shallower. Those 2 indicators to me are key. So now I'm just gonna watch it, keep it on the boil for a few more minutes here. I may have to add another stick or 2 to the fire, but I don't think I'm gonna have to. All right, and now we got this thing pretty good. The rice is in good shape, done. And we're down to less than half the water we started with. That's where we wanna be. Now, I've got the fire built up just a little bit again here, but I really want a simmering fire, not a boiling fire. I'm gonna add one more ingredient to this real quick. Stay with me. Okay, we got a small can of Bush smoked baked beans. And we're gonna add that right to the rice that's in that pot and heat that up. While that's heating up, we're gonna cut these bratwurst up and add it in there as well, and then let it simmer down until it's a little thicker. Everybody's freaking out right now because I'm cutting on this stainless steel plate with my knife. If your knife can't take that, sharpen up again real fast. You got the wrong knife. I can tell you that. Shouldn't be that much of a problem. And I'm just using the tip, pretty much. Not the whole blade. So it'll be fine. All right, the last secret sauce, Louisiana hot sauce. Get that in there. Get that stirred in good. And we're about 5 minutes away here. I'm having us something delicious to eat, boy. So good. All right, we are on it now. Man, look at that. That is gonna be some kind of good right there. All right, fellas, well, there ain't nothing left but the taste test. See what we got. So remember, this is long grain brown rice, a small can of Bush's baked beans, some Louisiana hot sauce, and beer brats. All cooked together. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And just the right amount of kick to that bad boy. Woo-wee. Don't eat this with no water, for sure. Oh yeah. Beer brats are awesome. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you joining me out here today for this video in the woods, just talking about some features of the 2-quart and 3-quart bush pots, some tips and tricks on how to use them to cook with, and just cooking a little bit of lunch while we're out here. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for school, for family, and for our business. For all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and don't forget to check out our website at selfrelianceoutfitters.com. Thanks, guys.